Hey everybody, Father Bob reporting in, not from the South Campus this morning, but from, we'll say, the East Campus, the University of Minnesota Arboretum, and I'm with parishioner Steve McNamara. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Father. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for providing the time.
Sure.
I'd like to find out a little bit. First of all, you've been a parishioner. I always ask this. How long have you been a parishioner?
We moved into Victoria in 1991, so Father Elston was still there, and that's when we first joined St. Victoria.
All right. Preceded me.
Yeah.
And not a lot of the parish remembers Father Elston, actually. So it's been around for a while.
I'm an old guy.
Yeah. And I am the same age as Elston when he retired.
Oh, seriously?
Moved on. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
But that's I've enjoyed it. You've been you and Gretchen, Christopher, been on the scene. Your son for forever, and love it. And about the Arboretum, how did first of all, I want to find out a little bit about the Arboretum. I've been out here many times over the years, but how long has the Arboretum been around?
Well, the Arboretum was established in the late 1950s. So officially, I think when they purchased the land, Dr. Leon Snyder was the head of the horticulture department at that time in St. Paul, and he worked with some garden clubs to raise the funds, and they purchased the land and then just started building it out and expanding from there. So I think we're up to about 1,100 acres or so now.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, and I understand that the University of Minnesota Arboretum was rated #1 in the country. I'll give you a little commercial there.
They will appreciate the pitch for sure. Yeah. There's an annual national contest. It's run by I think USA Today or somebody, and people vote on which is the best arboretum. They won that award several times.
But it's a showcase, and they really work at it, and it shows it's abundant with all sorts of wildlife. What's the mission of the Arboretum?
Well, it's really, I would say, probably a fourfold mission. The first is just to have beautiful display gardens so that the general public can come out and enjoy the beauty of nature. And there's also an education component, so they have an education program for children and adults, and just teaching people about plants and water quality and the natural world. So the education is important. We also have a research component, so I'm involved in that. I'll tell you a little bit about that later, but doing research on plants, trying to improve plant quality and how we grow them, and just understanding how they grow. And then there's also a conservation component, and that's becoming more important all the time with plants going extinct all over the world. We have a fairly hardy, robust conservation program now, and just to conserve plant material that's disappearing, primarily in Minnesota. Just species that are on the verge of extinction or possibly going to be wiped out because of construction. So bring plants here to conserve those plants.
Wow. You know, there's a greater awareness, thank God, of care of the environment and care of our ecological world and the planet and all of this. And it seems that one of the things that the Arboretum models well is care for the environment, care for the soil and nature, and a respect for that, and kind of doing that for the community. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
And they have some excellent people that work here and they're totally committed to that kind of ethos. So it works out well.
Beautiful. So, but in terms of the grounds, you've got 1,100 acres. I mean, driving through here, it's like you're in the woods. There's a lot of topography here, natural, and it's all within distance of, well, the steeple of St. Victoria.
Right.
And I drive by it on Highway 5 all the time, but to see it and get in it is wonderful.
Yeah, we live in the Katy Hills neighborhood in Victoria, and I'm amazed how many times I talk to people and they've never been here, and they think it's like a country club or something, and you're not allowed to come here. So we always have to try to get the word out that it's open to the public. Please come and enjoy it.
Yeah, maybe the country club for flowers or something. I don't know. But, it's
I'll talk to our marketing people about that. Yeah.
So, but specifically, tell us what's your responsibility here What's your
Yeah.
work?
Well, I have three, I guess, kind of distinct roles. One is I am the curator of woody plants at the Arboretum. So there's an overarching curator for the whole Arboretum, but I'm involved in kind of overseeing and managing the woody plant, tree and shrub collections here, just how they're cared for, making sure that we have representative plants of all the species we want to show in the collections, and then also helping acquire plants. So a few years ago, we took a trip out to the Black Hills, South Dakota, and up into the Bighorn Mountains in Wyoming, collecting pine seed. And that was to collect wild material that we could grow for our pine collection, which is right over here. So that's one thing, is the curatorial role. I also conduct research on how plants respond to a number of different environmental stresses. So primarily cold, which obviously we need to be concerned about, how plants can tolerate cold in Minnesota. But we're also looking at how plants adapt or fail to adapt to high temperatures and drought stress, which are becoming critical issues with the warming climate. So we're hoping we can learn more about plants, trees primarily, and how they adapt, and then develop plants that can tolerate harsher conditions. And then the last thing I do is I'm the woody plant breeder. So that actually takes up most of my time, and that involves essentially selecting superior parent plants of whatever species, like azalea, whatever we're working on at the time, and then hybridizing those. I get to play bumblebee, I get to come out and collect pollen and transfer it to female flowers, and then produce seeds from those, and then we collect those seeds, grow them out for sometimes decades, and evaluate them, and then make new selections of woody plants. Those plants will ultimately, ideally, end up in garden centers where the general public can buy them and enjoy them in gardens.
So based on what you're saying, Steve, it's like you're a horticulturalist scientist or something. You're trained in a way.
I call myself a research horticulturist because there is a lot of science involved. That's kind of what my master's degree was.
Was that Purdue University?
Yeah. Both. I got both my degrees at Purdue.
Well, I'm not going to tell John Abel that you're a Purdue grad. He'll never stop talking about it, but
that's okay.
All right.
I'm proud of Purdue. So.
There you go, the Boilermakers. So, what do you find the most satisfying in your work here?
I think there are a couple things. I mean, one is, I mentioned the research part of it, and there's something I find really exciting about discovering something new. So we conduct research-controlled studies, usually in the greenhouse or the laboratory. And when you find something new, it's like, nobody else has maybe ever seen this before. So there's kind of a excitement that goes along with that. It's very satisfying. And then I think the other thing is just, talking about the breeding program, it's just that whole creative process. I'm not the creator, obviously, but I get to kind of direct the direction of the creation through the breeding program, choosing what parents to use and what we're trying to achieve with that work. So.
Beautiful. When you say the creating process, and there's the creator, and you're
Exactly.
not, but you're caring for the creation. Is there a spiritual dimension to your work?
I think so. I mean, first of all, I think my faith has probably just made me cognizant of how lucky I am to be here doing this kind of work in one of the most beautiful places in all of Minnesota, for sure. And I just try to develop kind of the cliche, the attitude of gratitude. And you're having a bad day and things aren't going well, and it's like, snap out of it. I mean, look around. I get paid to do this. So.
Literally smell the roses,
exactly,
or whatever.
or the azaleas.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then I think also the more I learn about plants, working with them every day, especially the science part of it, the more I just think it's really important to take a closer look at the natural world and appreciate it. I think we tend to look at trees and shrubs and grass as almost a background noise sometimes. Mm-hmm. But when you delve into these plants at like the molecular level, the physiology, the biochemistry, the cellular structures, it's just incredible how complex it all is and how elegantly designed it all is and how it works. And I think I'm not a biblical scholar. I think there's a passage in Romans where St. Paul says something like, God's majesty and divinity is manifest in his handiworks, and therefore man has no excuse. So we can see God in his creation. And I think my faith has kind of given me the vision to recognize that reality. So that's probably the biggest way I think it shapes my thinking.
There's something powerful about being outdoors, and it's almost in an unconscious way we're affected by environment and conducive to prayer. You know, brings
Absolutely.
us, and I think the people at the outdoor mass have felt that. You know, 'cause we've had the seasons now: summer, fall, winter, and God, spring again. It's getting warm, and then summer, and so there's an awe and majesty about God's creative work.
It kind of helps you tune out the noise and turn off the TV and just kind of see the world as it really is.
Beautiful. Yeah. Heard, we're kind of in a culture that is nature. There's a nature deprivation that's going on. So a calming effect for the human spirit is to get out and take a walk in the woods. Final thing, what would you say? I want to get people interested in the art. What's a good elevator speech? Like, come on out. It's for the public. That's
Well,
what
I think what you just mentioned about reconnecting with nature is a huge part of it. It's an easy opportunity to get out, enjoy nature, short walks, in a short amount of time if that's all you have, or you spend the whole day. And I think one of the things that I've noticed working here at Mars is it's always changing. So you don't just come here once and say, oh, I've been to the Arboretum. It's always changing. So the bloom sequence changes. You come out here in the summer, it's a totally different look. You come back in the fall, you have beautiful colors. You come back in the wintertime, you have snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. So there's always something for people to do here. And I think once we get past COVID, we'll have people, we just have much more opportunity to get back out and see it.
Yeah, something to look forward to.
And it's nearby.
Yep, it is. It's proximate. So, final. I always have a question from what we call the magic orange hat. You didn't know you were.
I wasn't told about this.
No, this is. You can pick right there.
Where
It's
did
like
that come
fishing. There we
Okay.
go. And have a shot at it. What do you get? What do you got?
All right. If you could be given another talent or ability, what would you want it to be? How would you use it? Wow, that's a tough one. I mean, what comes to mind first is I'd like to be able to fly, but that's probably not really what I should go with here. I wish I were a better listener. I really wish I had the ability to stop talking all the time, stop thinking about what I want and what I need, and learn to listen better. Because I think that's a skill that's universally needed in our society, right now, especially right now. And I can apply that just about anywhere, I think.
With that, I'm going to shut up and just listen to what you have to say. That, as they say, God hears one mouth. But
Right.
I think you're a pretty good listener, and you listen to nature, you know, and tune there. And there's a certain silence, and in the silence, things you speak loudly. So, Steve, thanks for having you on. I've learned a lot about the Arboretum in Minnesota, and thank you for the care of God's environment that you're doing here.
Well, thank you, Father. And before we go, I just want to thank you and all your staff for what you've done during the last year. I've just been amazed at how you pulled the whole parish through this COVID pandemic. And we are really grateful for what you've done.
Thank you. We are a team. And I'm saying, what do you think? How do we do this? And we get together, we brainstorm and respond as best we can with what we have, and hopefully we got the summer to look forward to, and as COVID recedes.
Well, thank you so much, and come back anytime.
Thank you, Steve. So, folks, again, Father Bob from the Arboretum of the University of Minnesota. It's been wonderful having you check in. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.